Hi everyone, and welcome to today's card creation, where I'm going to be doing a little bit of heat embossing with some resist colouring on this Let Love Grow Trinity Stamps. Now I do have the coordinating die as well, but which I don't need that for today's card. I've also used some Wow embossing glitter and powder. I used three kinds. I've got some watercolour cardstock here, and I've got a white top folding card base. I've also got some watercolors here that I use for my watercoloring every now and then. I vary with what mediums I use to what my mood is, to be honest, and how kind of loose type of watercoloring I'm after. I love the bright pigment in this, and I don't need as much, and I just wanted to create more like a bloom type watercolor effect on this card. So here I am. I'm going to be doing heat embossing. I'm going to use the bigger image of this stamp set on the top right and the bottom left. I'm pressing down pretty heavily, only because I overhung the, if that's even a word, of the stamp, and it was like on the ridge bit, so I needed to get as good impression as possible. So I've got the white pearl embossing powder here, and I'm just going to make sure I do it on both sides. Now I'm going to cut that into more a thinner panel, because I'm going to let that veer off on the right hand side. Once I have heat embossed that, and I'm just picking on any extra bits off my card there, I'm going to use my white, my Wow heat embossing tool here to heat set that. I am going in a little bit of a faster speed. I didn't really particularly want to bore you too much on the heat embossing process. We've all seen powder melt before, and I didn't really want to bore you. So here's something that I do often on my cards. I don't have much glitter cardstock, many, so I create my own with the embossing glitters that I do have. So I've just pressed my ink pad, my Versamark ink pad directly on the top folding cardstock here, and then I'm heavily pouring that glitter and heat setting it. So that's another way that you can create your own glitter cardstock. So that's my little tip for you today, and that's the panel which I've trimmed down to size. And also going to use my distress sprayer, some ink blending. I've got the Catherine Pooler ink Mint to Be. I'm only just creating a really slight shade on this, just slightly more towards the outer side and right on the corner, just so it pops that image just that little bit more. Now I use the cloth, and because I've got this glass mat, I clean in between my projects. I had a little bit of blue pigment on there, so I just take that off, and I wasn't fussed at all. So I've got my aqua pencil brush here, and I pretty much now just enjoy the colouring process. If you don't want to watch this, you can speed up this part, but I do leave this part in for those that do want to watch this watercoloring process. So this color here is called Intense Pink. Because I've put a little bit of blue in there, it's turned into more like a purplish feel. The color that I kind of mix it with a little bit is ultramarine. And then I've picked up it's called Permanent Yellow, and I'm going to do a little bit more pink, purple, yellow combo on the smaller florals or the smaller images, and then I just kind of mix those colors in, and I work one color at a time when I do this, and I pick up the color directly with my aqua pencil brush. And if I feel like there's too much color, I just use the lid of that little pan there, and I just disperse it just a little bit so it's just thinner out, and then I add water. But at this stage I do want that yellow, that intense yellow look to it as much as possible. So here I've got the sap green, but I've mixed a little bit of turquoise with it. So I've just smushed my pigments together, that's all. And then I'm going to colour in the large of this cacti bloom set, and I'm going to work. What I do is, because I've got two sets of images to work with, I tend to work one colour use that same color, then work towards that other image, just so it kind of has time to dry in between my coloring. Then what I've done is I've added some of that turquoise on its own, just on the tips of that larger image, just so it almost looks like that gradient effect, but just it keeps that vibrancy of those pigments. So here I've got a clean brush, and I did want it a little bit more looser, so therefore I just made sure I added more some water first on that image, and then added some pigment. So I mean, there's two different types of methods here, and it's really up to you how you want to play with your watercolors. And don't forget, like, play and enjoy this process, because sometimes it also depends. Your images and your watercoloring can vary on the paper that you use, the pigments, the mediums, the brushes. So for me, I just do what kind of makes me happy and go with my mood. So here again, you can see that I've added that touch of blue on the tips again. I think it adds that little bit of nice element to that watercoloring. I'm no watercoloring artist, but I just love colors. Okay, so I went off screen and did one side of that. It almost looks like a crystal kind of popping out of that bloom set. And what I've done is I've used the cobalt blue, and then I've used some violet on the base. So this again, playing with colors. I don't know if you like this kind of look, but I love the vibrancy these colors give, and I just wanted to use most of them really, because I really enjoyed how vibrant these are and how pretty these pans are. Now these pans are from Uniquely Creative. It's an Australian company, that pan set. So because I'm based in Australia, if you can't already tell with my accent. All right, so I just enjoy this coloring process, and pretty much once I've colored that, that's it for me for this watercoloring. And then if I feel like I needed to blend a little bit more in, I just pick up some clean water and I just go by and just, you know, almost nitpick at my own work. Sometimes you just got to leave it, don't you? And just walk away, then come back. But with watercoloring, I tend to try and finish my projects as much as I can. So I've got some vellum here, and I'm going to heat emboss with a metallic brass. Now the reason why I chose brass is because it has that under the sea iridescent glitter. It's got some blues, golds, almost got some, like, the iridescent makes it look that not bright gold, so I kind of wanted to use this as a little bit of muted color, and I actually really love the tone. It's a softer tone than the rich gold, and so I thought this was quite fitting for the card. So you can tell I do love my embossing powders. Now the tip with vellum, I try not to use adhesive. So what I've done is I've almost created a belly band, and I'm going to adhere that down with foam tape, because that's what I was going to place on the backing of this. So I'm going to use that foam tape to help secure it. I know it seems like a waste, but I just, one, I was a bit lazy, I couldn't be bothered to trim it, but two, it was easy for me to secure it this way than rather than adhering adhesive or trying to place adhesive strategically behind that vellum piece. I mean, by all means, I've done it before, but I just didn't feel like it today, and just felt this was the easier option for me. So I've got my 3D foam mount tape. Is that how you say it? And I've placed that heavily behind that cardstock panel, that watercolor cardstock panel, and adhered that on the right hand side of my top folding card. So that glitter is peeking through on the left side. I hope, you know, this is something that inspires you to use your embossing glitters differently. It's something I've loved doing and creating elements on my cards. Now Trinity Stamps also have some sequencing glitters and confettis in their range. However, I don't know if this is yet in store, but at least it's a little bit of a sneak peek for you. I've got their mini stars, and they just look so pretty. So I wanted to add some extra sparkle. I might as well go all out with this card. I've added some sparkle embossing. just enjoy it. All right, so I've just scattered that down throughout the card, and that's my card. I hope you enjoy today's card creation, and please leave a comment and subscribe, and I will see you again. Thanks for watching.